Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. That welcome sounded like I was like on the toilet or something.
Dying?
Yes. Hopefully you enjoyed super wild card weekend that was less than super.
I enjoyed it for the most part.
I thought it was nice.
It was nice.
I gotta say, like, you have to kind of do it this way because, if you're first place or second place or whatever, you got to play the worst teams. But I get adding new playoff teams, but there's no intrigue anymore. Like, Dolphins played pretty well. They almost shocked the Bills. I was rooting for them hard, and on the other side, who didn't
Seahawks, right?
The Seahawks almost they didn't even work even close.
The
bad teams are just so bad, and they don't even compare to the good teams. So it's like, it just isn't even worth having.
It's like it's basically a bye. That's not a bye. I will say though, I think if the Dolphins had Tua,
they might have won.
That could have been a game.
That could have been a game. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a game, but
it was a game. But
it could have been their game.
Maybe, yeah. They would have had a better shot.
I have a developing hot take about the Bills for just this offseason, considering this episode title. Maybe I'll share it, but I will share it.
Share it.
The Bills, I think they're not good. I think they're a good football team, very good football team. They're definitely top 5 in the NFL, but I think they're 5. And
really,
I do not think they're going to. I don't think they can beat the Chiefs. I don't think they can beat Cincinnati.
I just want this clip saved. I
don't think they could beat the 49ers. I don't think they could beat Dallas.
Okay. You're losing me now.
Yeah, I didn't think I don't think they can beat the Eagles, but the thing about the Eagles is that they could choke. They'll do that. Sorry, Philly fans. I think they
the Eagles.
But this doesn't feel like it feels like they should have went on this like they should have taken what happened to Hamlin and transitioned it into like motivation. And it feels like they got worse. They almost lost to the Pats.
Yeah.
They almost lost to the Dolphins in the playoffs with a third-string quarterback in the game when they couldn't move the ball.
Yep.
Like, does that make you feel good as a Bills fan?
No, I think the Bills they're a weird team because you're right, and they will have these like stretches.
But they don't do that in the playoffs. Like last year, the Pats were an inferior team, and they walked into that game and they said, "You know what? We're just gonna win it. Like, we're gonna win."
Like, I know the Rams ended up being a sucky team, but like you look back at Week 1 and how they just like big game, they just knew everyone was watching. They just destroyed the Rams, right?
Yep.
I feel like with really big game, like they play up to their competition, and they also will sometimes play down to their competition. Where it
just doesn't. To me, it doesn't feel like a Super Bowl year for the Bills.
Yeah, and that could be true. You got the Bengals winning this week, right?
I do got the Bengals winning this week.
Okay. I got the Bills, but if the Bengals do win, I just hope either one of these teams beat the Chiefs. That's all I'm going to say. I do not want the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Bro, Jacksonville's going to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
What was the game earlier in the season? They lost by 10. Jacksonville, 24-17.
They competed.
Yeah.
That's probably what we're going to say this week. They competed. They might have lost by 2 touchdowns, but they were in it in the third quarter.
Like, man, that the Jacksonville, we gotta get moving. But the Jacksonville game, where T-Law came back, that was great. It just like because I feel like 3 of the 4 picks he threw in the first half were not his fault.
I didn't even watch the first half, and I remember just looking at it, and I saw he was like 4 for 16 for like 4 interceptions. I was like, dude, is he like what's going on?
It was like
I was in shock.
First pick, I believe, was a deflection off the line of scrimmage that went in the air.
I went back and looked at the short.
I would say I think 2 of them were his fault and 2 of them weren't. But I think the 2 that were his fault were after the first 2 picks that weren't his fault, and he was just in his own head at that point. You know what I mean? Like you're throwing so many picks. It's like Brett Maher last night kicking extra points.
Right.
But Yeah, so I mean, he bounced back and he came back from it, but I honestly, I think the defense that he played against Los Angeles is better than the Chiefs' defense. So with that being said, I think he won't struggle as much offensively because I even though they won and they came back in the second half, I still don't think they were like moving the ball well. If that makes sense, it wasn't until they really needed to that they did. So. But it does show you Lawrence has got the dog.
Oof. He's got that dog.
He's got the Joe Burrow.
It showed me.
I would love that. We all spend the entire year talking about these two clowns we've been talking about for 5 years. And I know I should have some more respect for them because they're very good. And I watched Brady all those years, and I hated when people hated him. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, great quarterbacks, probably the top 2 or 3 in the league. But I'd love to see a Joe Burrow-Trevor Lawrence matchup just so that we don't have to hear the nonsense. Like, right. I just want to hear somebody call a game without talking about how Mahomes can throw it 60-yard sidearm and Josh Allen can truck a linebacker twice on the same drive.
And how he's Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and how he's Michael Jordan.
I will say, though, Romo would do the same thing with Burrow, but you would just be like, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. If he does it this Sunday, I don't get that. I don't get that. He doesn't. Although I don't know, I think he doesn't do it to the same level. He called Josh Allen Michael.
He doesn't. I think if you pin Allen and Burrow like you're gonna this week, he's gonna be on Team Josh Allen for sure.
Oh yeah.
But if Burrow was by himself versus the Jaguars, you would just hear like how great Joe Burrow is and how he's already like a Hall of Famer and the next Joe Montana and Tom Brady and all this stuff.
It's wild.
Yeah. But But it's funny, you're just saying this basically from the perspective of anyone who wasn't a Patriots or Colts fan the last like decade, or I guess even longer now, but from like 2001 to 2014.
You know, I will say I don't mind Patrick Mahomes as much, and Josh Allen seems like a nice guy. I hate the
perception
Bills.
around
I hate the Bills because they're in our division as a Patriots fan, so I'd really like them to lose. But like it's the perception. It's really the perception because I think Josh Allen does some really great stuff, and he's a fantastic quarterback, and we all know that. Right. But if you take the fantasy football aspect,
and he makes wild plays too.
But that's what I'm saying. Like there's plays and there's throws where it's just like, what are you doing? Like why? Like you're doing too much. And Brett Favre did him too. So and he was Hall of Fame quarterback. Josh Allen's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. Patrick Mahomes is going to end up in the Hall of Fame. But it's like I'd like to see something different. And we're kind of at a point like where even when Tom Brady was winning Super Bowls and we were like always in the AFC Championship and all this stuff was happening, I felt like there was some parity in the NFL. Where like you entered the season and you were like, well, these teams I think are really good, but at the end of the season you're talking about a whole different team. And the Eagles knock off Tom Brady in the championship with Nick Foles at quarterback. Like that's the kind of stuff that I love watching for the NFL. And I feel like the last 4 or 5 years, because these new quarterbacks come in and they're slinging it sidearm and no one can figure it out, it's just taking the parity away. It's like the Bills and the Chiefs are going to be in the AFC Championship game, and the 49ers and probably the Eagles are going to be in the AFC
just last year we had Rams-Bengals, right, in the Super Bowl?
Yes, I liked it. I just don't want to see the Chiefs and the Bills in the AFC Championship.
But that's going to be the Bills and Chiefs. Technically, have never even played in the AFC Championship before. It's usually a divisional round.
My point
right?
is,
actually, no, they did play in it.
I'd rather see some different quarterbacks. Who?
Bills and Chiefs. I think they actually did. Not last year, but the year before that.
Yes, yeah, and then the Chiefs went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Bucs.
Yep, that's right. But I understand what you're saying. I think though, like because you were a Patriots fan, it's like.
The AFC didn't have parity, so I say that.
Reality.
But you were able to knock off Tom Brady. Tom Brady lost AFC Championship
games. Oh, you did, especially from 2004 to 2014, that 10-year stretch.
Yeah.
The Patriots, they made one Super Bowl. Sorry, they made 2 Super Bowls during that stretch. Mm-hmm. They lost both, but they didn't win a Super Bowl during that 10-year period.
Yeah, that's fair. I should dial back my takes.
The Steelers. I was gonna say because like the Steelers won 2, during that stretch. Peyton Manning 1-1, went to 1.
Yeah.
So it was the only teams that like were just randomly showed up would usually lose, right? During that stretch.
Yeah,
it was
for the
usually
most
like
part.
the Steelers, the Patriots, or the Colts. I remember there was a stat that was like if it wasn't Brady, Manning, or Roethlisberger, there was no other AFC quarterback in the Super Bowl.
That's wild.
This is just how it is. It's the best quarterbacks in the league. They're gonna.
Yeah, I know. I just hate it's them.
It's just how it is. There'll be a year though where it's gonna be like
This year might be it because I do think that everyone sucks, and it's like football has not been good this year in terms of like play. And that's why you're getting a lot of random stuff like Jacksonville making it to the divisional round, and
But the best teams are
yeah.
Like that's what makes you nervous because if that's how it is, which that's how it has been, it probably means the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl because the Chiefs are the most like
either that or they'll choke against Jacksonville, get upset, and Trevor Lawrence will go to the AFC Championship game against Joe Burrow. Like I don't know, we'll see. I mean, this could be the year where it gets crazy, but
not to continue this conversation.
Yeah, we got to move on.
But super quickly, if it's not Allen and Mahomes and it's Trevor Lawrence versus Burrow, that's kind of like that borderline the same thing. Burrow and Trevor Lawrence were playing against each other in the national championship, and they were both considered like the two next great quarterback prospects.
That's okay, but the young guns.
So if it ends up being them, it's
Lawrence blew last year. Burrow was okay in his first year. Then he took a major step forward last year. Either way, listen, bro. Jalen Hurts came out of nowhere.
That's true. The NFC guys.
NFC. But anyway, so for this episode, now that we're 12 minutes in, is early hot takes, and we're ready to go. Clearly,
we can also add playoff thoughts.
Yeah, add some playoff thoughts in there.
Yeah.
But before we jump into early hot takes, please check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on a podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platforms, please leave a review, share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Click the bell for notifications, comment down below. So early hot takes. I like to do this in January every year just to get a taste of what our thoughts might be going into the because honestly I haven't sat down. I've looked at some of the statistics, I've looked at some of the stuff, and I haven't really sat down and digested the season yet. It's been a busy January.
Right, I haven't either.
So I want to see, based on what we saw in the regular season, what Rick and I think could happen moving forward. This could be related to fantasy, it could be related to free agents or draft moves, it could be related really to anything in the NFL besides a team winning the Super Bowl. And we'll talk about some of the fantasy implications of some of this stuff happening. If it does, what that means for your fantasy team, stuff like that. But we're going to give you some hot takes to start 2023 and give you, kick it off with a bang.
Bang.
So we'll start with last year's, just to.
Oh, you got last year's.
I do got last year's.
Oh boy.
And this should be interesting. So I'm gonna quickly run through this, because it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Okay.
You said J.K. Dobbins. So first one for you, J.K. Dobbins will be a top 10 running back.
Okay, I didn't realize that he was gonna miss half the season again, but okay.
If you did, you had the Sports Almanac.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Your hot take last year for J.K. Dobbins was he's gonna get injured, miss half the year.
I think he did tear. I don't know why he said that because I think he tore his ACL. Well, he tore it in like July. So actually, I thought he would come back and be fully healthy, but I guess I think he re-injured something. I don't remember what happened, but that was kind of a bad take. But
yeah, I know you're good. Mine was Justin Fields will be a top 7 quarterback.
There it is. Okay.
All right.
That's a good one.
Nothing needs to be said. Was he top 5?
He was top. I think he was. Yeah.
This was a good one for you. Number 2 for you was one of Lawrence and Wilson will not. I'm sorry. I added the not in my brain. One of Lawrence / Wilson will finish in the top 12 of quarterbacks.
Okay.
So if you just chose a side, you could be right or wrong, but I guess you're partially right here.
50% credit.
50% credit. My second one was Calvin Ridley to the New England Patriots. He went to Jacksonville.
Sounds like a hope more than a take.
That was a hope more than a take. Your third one was Travis Kelce will not finish in the top 3 of tight ends.
Well, That's an L.
Yeah, that didn't happen. And then mine was my third and final one was there won't be a rookie wide receiver in the top 15.
That's a dub.
Yeah, nailed it.
You did
twice.
pretty good, bro.
Yeah, I did all right. You did all right with the Lawrence take.
I'm doubling down on that though.
Oh yeah, doubling down on that. All right, so those were last year's takes. Let's jump in. We won't really spend a whole ton of time talking about fantasy implications for things that we think are hot takes, but we'll just touch on things. So Rick, why don't you give us your first one since you segued it? Finally.
Yeah. Look, I gotta double down, and also I looked at this and I was like, I need one really hot take. I need one that's gonna be spicy. Probably not gonna be right, but just something for fun. T-Law is gonna win MVP next year. All right, we got that year 1 to year 2 jump with Doug Peterson. If you look at his passing numbers, he took a massive jump. Completion percentage went up by 7 points. He threw 500 more yards. He threw 13 more touchdowns. He had 9 less interceptions. Every statistical category improved significantly from year 1 to year 2. And I think he has the potential to take another massive leap from year 2 to year 3 to really solidify himself as a superstar quarterback in this league. The playoff experience helps. Not only playoff experience, but he got a playoff win. We're hoping for 2 playoff wins. We'll see how that goes. Probably unlikely, but still that playoff experience. And then one key factor is he's getting arguably a top 10, top 12 wide receiver next year on his team.
The biggest one.
Virtually for free because of the suspension, but Calvin Ridley. So next year he's going to have Calvin Ridley, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, who I was wrong about. He's like, I don't think he's great, and I still don't think he's probably worth the contract he got. But he's at least a legit number 2 receiver. Would you agree with that after the year you just had?
Yes.
So you got Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Travis Etienne. Evan Ingram, too, is a good tight end, pass catching, despite his drops. He's able to get open pretty well, and we've always known he's had talent. He just very much disappointed with the Giants. But so you got him on board as well. It's just all things pointing up. The sky's the limit for the Jaguars, especially the Jaguars offense next year. I'm all in on T-Law. I'll probably be having him on a lot of fantasy teams. We'll see. But yeah, this is definitely a hot take. I will admit, probably not going to be right on it, but just kind of to exaggerate the point of I think Trevor's going to be legit.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I agree with the MVP, but I do think that Trevor Lawrence is going to take a massive leap forward next year, because this year statistically he improved, he got better, but there are throws and there are times where Trevor Lawrence is, you're like, you gotta get that out of your system.
He's not a perfect product.
He did not take a Joe Burrow leap in year 2, but he took a step forward, which is good. Like, this is the rookie season he should have had. And that got delayed because of Urban Meyer and his disaster job coaching the team. But as far as like the fantasy implications, obviously, like, I have a take on Ridley a little bit later, but you're gonna see guys like Ridley have success. You're gonna see guys like Travis Etienne have success. Evan Ingram could be a really good tight end next year in a sleeper sense.
Christian Kirk was the wide receiver 12 this year.
Yeah, Christian Kirk was good. I don't know, like with Calvin Ridley, I'm not sure he can finish as wide receiver 12.
He'll take a step down.
Like when he was back with the Cardinals and he was a low-end wide receiver 2, like you can expect that kind of production. But just looking at the team as a whole, I do think they got a good receiver. They have some good pieces. They really need an offensive line to solidify this, because though they made improvements, they still struggle to rush the ball because their offensive line is just a disaster.
I didn't watch the first. I just watched the shortened game, so you could probably say better. But from what I saw and what I heard, Lawrence was also getting killed by the Chargers pass rush in the first half.
Was it Joey or Nick?
Joey.
Yeah, Joey. He was all over him.
And they have Khalil Mack. So I mean, the Chargers have a good pass rush, but still,
he hasn't been good.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway,
either way, the Jaguars' offensive line, even though it got better, is still not great. I'll give you that.
So they make improvements there. I think we're locked.
That's the last step, though.
Yeah,
for that
it really
offense.
is. It shouldn't be the last step. It should be like the first step besides quarterback.
That's true.
But anyway, they're getting there. I think sky's the limit for this team. I think they can continue to have success, and with Trevor Lawrence at the helm, they're going to be really good. But my first hot take, and we'll try to make these more expeditious because, my goodness, we burned through so much time talking about the playoffs. But number one is Tom Brady. He going to be a Raider. And I don't know what it was, the Monday Night Football crew. By the way, thank you, ESPN, for getting who Joe Buck and who?
Troy Aikman.
Thank you for getting them, because despite the hatred from some people of these two guys, including Rick, in the regular, they are competent.
They are
game callers, and
they are. This
year didn't suck on Monday Night Football.
I will admit, I've never been a big fan of those guys, especially more Joe Buck. I think he can be a little lazy when he calls games.
Yeah. Can't be more lazy than Al Michaels.
Yeah, that's true. But I did notice much improvement in the broadcasting department this year for ESPN.
Yeah, I didn't talk about it at all, which I like. But either way, they spent a long portion of time at the end of that football game against the Cowboys, talking about, this might be Brady's last touchdown pass. This might be Brady's last pass in the NFL. This might be Brady's last time walking off. They kept on saying it and reinforcing it. And I'm like, guys, I know you can keep saying it every year. Brady's not done. He laughed at the idea that he was going to retire this offseason a month ago. So, he's not going anywhere. He divorced his wife for this.
Yep.
Brady's not leaving. It's that GIF from what the crap is the name of that movie? I don't even know. I think the Wolf of Wall Street. Wolf of Wall Street. Yep. He's not effing leaving.
Yeah, true.
He will be leaving Tampa though. So good luck in hell for everyone on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, they're
see you later.
4-12,
4-15. What the crap is it? 4-13 next year, guys.
Yep.
Tom Brady's going to go to the hot take for me here, because I spent 5 minutes introducing it. Is Tom Brady is going to be a Raider. And I look at some of these other teams. I think the only team that can come close, Miami has been rumored. I don't know why they would do that. You have a competent, smart quarterback that can get the job done in Tua. He's come back in games. He did it against the Ravens. He's a good NFL quarterback, and he's your future. Why dump that?
A 46-year-old.
To go get a 46-year-old quarterback who's probably going to play one, maybe two more seasons.
I think he's only playing 1 year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's done after this year. So, but you see that, and it's he's not going to Miami. It's not happening. I know there was connections there and there was stuff happening, but I don't think he's going to Miami. I think San Fran could be a legitimate spot. I don't know what they think of Trey Lance. They like Brock Purdy. But do they really want to continue, unless they win a Super Bowl with this kid, do they want to continue rolling with Brock Purdy next year? I think that they have a wide open question mark at quarterback right now, and they would be more willing, especially with what happened to Trey Lance, to sit him even for another year behind Tom Brady and let Brady live his dream of playing for his, hometown team. But I think what's cozy, what's right, what's warm, no snow, no problems.
Yep.
Las Vegas.
Yep.
You go play for the Raiders. You go play for Josh. You know the system. You know how to work with them. I think it works.
He's got the perfect white slot receiver in Hunter Renfrow.
Yep. He's got big
Devontae Adams is still under contract.
Devontae Adams is there. I honestly, if Brady goes there, I think all of those assets get a step forward. Their offensive line is good. Their running game is way better than the Bucs was this year. So
yeah, Josh Jacobs is legit running back. Better. Fournette is good fantasy wise, but at this point in his career, and even in his prime, he wasn't. I don't know if he was great, but at this point in his career, Josh Jacobs is a much better real life running back.
I think Brady going to the Bucs would certainly help Waller and and Renfrow. I think Adams would stay the same, and Jacobs would probably stay the same. But you can run what you ran with the Patriots all those years and hope the defense does.
Yeah, that is the perfect fit. I think that'd be great. Or the 49ers, but I don't know. I don't think they would actually do it unless they'd be like, "Hey, Trey Lance,
they got rid of Derek Carr." Oh, the 49ers. I was
49ers.
The Raiders need a
the Raiders would be perfect. I think that's a realistic possibility.
Yeah.
The 49ers to me would be great too, but again, I could see them being like, "Hey, Trey Lance, we're going to get Brady. We're going to sign him 1 year. You can recover from your injury, just sit on the bench, learn from TB12, and then next year it's your franchise. One of those things. I don't know about Brock Purdy. We'll see, because if they win a Super Bowl with him, or even get to a Super Bowl, it might be more complicated. But yeah, that's a good one. I like it.
Okay, give us your second one quickly.
My second hot take: Kyle Pitts will finally break out. Everybody's off the train now. There were people in year one that thought he was going to be a stud as a rookie. He sucked. Everybody's like, okay, that's all right. He was a rookie tight end. Mm-hmm. Year two, everybody's on the train. Everybody took him in the third round. He sucked again. He literally costed you your team 2 years in a row. I know for a fact that a lot of people who play fantasy football, especially maybe more casual, maybe not casual, people who know what they're doing, but maybe not too familiar with like the college scene and rookie prospects and stuff like that, are very much out on Kyle Pitts. This guy's a bust. He's never been good in the NFL, all these things. And that's when I jump on the train, right? Because the price is going to drop. He's in a year 3 tight end. It's about time where a tight end can really break out. I still think he's a ridiculous talent. The college profile fits. He was a top 5 pick as a tight end. He's a freakish athlete. Yeah. He has all the talent in the world. Mm-hmm. The Falcons this year were the worst passing team in the league in terms of passing attempts, or at least they were bottom 2 in the league. I don't know if they were dead last or second to last. Either way, they threw the ball. They were like the Bears. They threw the ball like 18 times a game with Mariota.
Yikes.
And then Pitts also got hurt. All these things. It's only going to go up. Pitts is in year 3. The price is going to be way down. You're not going to have to draft him at the end of the second, third round anymore. He's probably going to be like a 6th, 7th round pick. Mm-hmm. So I'm in on the Kyle Pitts breakout. I think he could be a top 5 tight end this year, and finally, maybe even top 3, and finally be worth the draft pick.
Yeah, it could be. I still think they need a quarterback.
They do need a quarterback. That is kind of important.
There's rumors that
I think
Ridder's going to be the guy that they're going to.
I think Mariota was like one of the worst case scenarios because he's a running quarterback though too.
Yeah.
So even if he sucks, like if Ridder sucks, but he throws the ball like 40 times a game, that would be an upgrade just on that, just on volume.
Yeah. I like it. Not bad. Let's move to the next one. My second. Calvin Ridley, top 10 wide receiver. We'll talk about this fast because we already discussed.
We did kind of touch on it.
I think Calvin Ridley, he's ready to play. He's been tweeting about it for weeks. I don't know why they wouldn't let him play in the playoffs, considering that I thought it was a 17-game suspension.
Dude, that'd be freaking hype, wouldn't it?
It would be so funny.
Comes back for the Chiefs game.
But anyway, so Calvin Ridley, though, I think coming into next year, you have T-Law, who's kind of figured some things out. And depending on how deep this playoff run goes for the Jaguars, he could start unlocking some other things as the postseason goes along and build more confidence, and that can really help a quarterback. But if T-Law does have one of these huge seasons like Rick is saying, even if he doesn't win MVP, somebody's getting the ball and it's going to be Calvin Ridley. And the last time we saw Calvin Ridley play, he was a top 10 wide receiver. And there's nothing to me that would suggest that he's not or can't play to that capability. He's going to be the number 1 wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's going to be the guy getting the ball 10 times a game. And I think he's an elite wide receiver for a quarterback who's showing that he's starting to grow into an elite position. And if those two things come together and converge at the same time, Calvin Ridley will be a top 10 wide receiver. It'll be easy money.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good take, and it goes very well with my Trevor Lawrence MVP.
Yeah, you take. You like it because it goes well. Pairs well, like a fine wine.
Yes, like it. All right, so my last one. I don't know how much because first take especially was very hot. Kyle Pitts is kind of a hot take, so this one is I feel like less of a hot take, but still kind of a hot take because there's some good teams still in that division. I got the Lions winning the NFC North next year. Another team that has improved every year.
Your emotional roller coaster with Dan Campbell.
Yeah, that kind of scares me a little bit, but that's okay. They have a lot of talent on that team, and it's only going to get better. They have another top 5 pick this year, right? For the Rams pick. I don't know if it's top 5 or top 10 where it slots.
In that vicinity. It's still ridiculous.
But they're gonna have 2 picks in the top 20 again. That offensive line sneakily because they took Penei Sewell. Remember all the memes about Penei Sewell versus Jamar Chase, all that stuff?
Yep.
He has been dynamite since they drafted him. He's a franchise left tackle. That offensive line is top 10 in the league, maybe even top 5. It's very underrated.
And
you got DeAndre Swift, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Jameson Williams. They got some real talent on offense. And even though their defense sucks, they have some young talent on defense, like Aiden Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm.
That team is young, developing, and really growing. They won 9 games this year, and they might have been able to win more. They had a lot of injuries. So you take all that into account. A young team going into another year jump. I don't know. I think Ben Johnson, who's their OC, might leave, which would worry me a little bit. But if he stays, he's one of the new, like, bright young offensive coordinators who's really coming into his own.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you watch the Lions-Packers game?
I did.
I only watched part of it, but one of the plays I saw, I think it was like a 3rd and 14 or something.
Mm-hmm.
They threw a screen pass to Amon-Ra, and then he threw like a lateral to DeAndre Swift, and they got the first down or something. Yep. Like, just stuff like that. Like, he's a very good offensive coordinator. Yeah. They have a lot going for them down there in Detroit, and I think next year, as long as they continue to draft right, we'll have enough talent to win the.
And I do, despite contrary to popular belief for some people, especially in the middle of the season, I do think Dan Campbell is a great coach, and because I believe that because he's not. A lot of people look at him like okay, Rick, tell me why he's not a good coach. Like, why is he not a great coach?
I think he's a good coach in the sense of, like, he's a good leader. I think he's he can control the room, but he's not an X's and O guy. He doesn't have anything to do with the offense, really. Like, when Jared Goff goes back there, he goes to Ben Johnson. Like, they have their meetings, and Dan Campbell's just, like, staring at the scoreboard. Mm-hmm. And he's not really involved with defense either. I don't think
there's some coaches that do that, and there's some coaches that don't. But I think he's a good coach because he can motivate his guys, and I think
and that's
what a head coach's job is. Sure. Honestly, it's getting the guys buy-in, because if somebody buys into your franchise and your team, like, you can get the Lions, who are a 2-win football team under Fatty Patty Patricia, to a 9-win football team in just 2 seasons. So it's like, I think he's a good head coach. I think he does some things that are a little bit like, what the crap are you doing? But, like, every coach does that. Bill Belichick did a lot of them this year, and he's the greatest coach of all time. So,
sure.
I think he's a good coach. I think he can. I think he's got that team to play for him, and that's what matters at this point. He can get other coaches to do the things that he needs to do. You know what I mean? All that really matters is motivating the guys.
I want to say that I'll kind of take back my takes earlier where I said I don't think he's a good coach. I think he's an awful coach and all those things. I'm going to say he's a good coach, but I don't think he's a great coach, because I do think to be a great coach, you do need, like, some of the X's and O's, which I don't think he has. But he is a very good leader.
I mean, he's a coach.
He
has to have them, at least in some extent.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it on Hard Knocks, so I couldn't tell you.
No.
But anyway, my third and final hot take, and this one's scorching hot. This one is a piping hot.
Yeah, this is your
heap of
Trevor Lawrence take.
TJ Hawkinson, you're going to be tight end 1 next year. You see how much Kirk Cousins throws him the ball?
Yes, sir.
Tight end 1.
Okay.
Enough said.
There you go.
Yeah, you can tell I love TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah.
But I do think.
Will he be on all your fantasy teams next year?
No, because I can't draft him anymore. It's too good.
Oh, that's true. You're gonna have to.
Yeah, too good. I gotta pivot.
Yeah, you're gonna have to draft him early.
But no, I do think that there is a lot of target share for him in this offense. And I do think he is the new guy. Like you were talking about, like, Adam Thielen and having a wide receiver too, and stuff like that. When we were talking about the Vikings off the pod.
Yep.
And Hawkinson, like, to me, is their second wide receiver at this point. And I don't think they're going to try. They might try to add somebody through the draft or something like that, but I don't think he's going to replace TJ Hawkinson's target share. Hawk is going to get, his 7 to 9 targets. And I think at the tight end position, regardless of whether he's consistently having good games or not, I don't care. Like, unless you draft Kelsey or Mark Andrews, you're not getting 7-8 targets a game. And so, like, to me, I think when you're talking about TJ Hawkinson, my whole take of taking him was that he was a 7th-round pick. I hope he ends up there again. But I do think that if he starts playing slightly more efficiently and he gets a full season under his belt here, or full offseason under his belt with this team, I think Hawk can ascend into a tight end 1 slot and be fantastic. Even if he doesn't finish tight end 1, I think he can be more consistent on a week-to-week basis, like Kelsey or Waller or Mark Andrews have been in the past. And he can be that new guy. What was he, 2 this year? 3 this year? I think it was 3.
I think he was 3, I think. Actually, he might have been 2. He might have been tight end 2.
I just think he's the future of this. Like, when Kelsey gets hurt next year, not saying I want that to happen, but if Kelsey gets hurt next year or something happens, I think Hawkinson is the future of the tight end position. You do have like Waller, you do have Andrews, but like the future is with Hawk. And I think that you're going to see this guy actually ascend into that position of being tight end 1. If it doesn't happen this year, it'll happen in the next few, but he's fantastic if you watch him play. All right. Anything else? Any other thoughts?
No, I think that's it.
There you go. Early hot takes for the 2023 fantasy football season. We are excited to get into 2023 content on Thursday or whenever that second show of the week goes out. We're going to do a mock draft of the first round, so be sure to check that out. We'll see you later, guys.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.